Welcome, everybody, and hope you're all having a great Wednesday. This is Jean McDowell with TradersCoach.com, and welcome to Wednesday Night Live. All right, we've got a great event tonight. We're going to be covering charting templates, how to set it and forget it. All right, so let's see if you all can hear me and see the screen. If you all wouldn't mind looking for the questions box in the GoToWebinar platform, give me a hello or maybe the city or state you're watching from, and that will let me know that yes, you can see the webinar screen and you can hear my voice. And while you're doing that, I will mention that we do love questions, lots of questions. So feel free to put questions in the questions area, and our speaker, Bennett McDowell, will help you with the answers to any of those questions. All right, well, looks like I guess everyone can see us. I see you, Daniel, and I see you, Michael, and Ching, and Brent. Good to see you all here. Next thing is, I did want to let you know that Bennett is going to be going over all of these template tricks. He is an expert in technical analysis and money management and Elliott Wave techniques as well. And Bennett, I think without further ado, I will turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Jane. Welcome everybody to tonight's webinar. All right, so charting templates, how to set it and forget it, is I'm going to teach you basically a little bit about the charting platform you may be using. Let me know in the questions area where you can type in things, let me know what platform you're using now. And while you're doing that, let me just quickly go through some of the administrative items I have to take care of, which of course is talking about the risks involved in trading. And we want you to know that there are risks involved in trading. Like I always say, without that risk, there is no opportunity. So the two really go hand in hand. We want you to realize, however, it is possible to lose some or all of your money trading the financial markets. But that's why we use risk control, and that's why we use money that we can afford to trade with called risk capital. That's really important. And of course, if you need any help with calculating trade sizes and implementing risk control, definitely come and see us. All right, now the other thing too is any of the concepts that we talk about or even stocks we may look at from time to time, run those by your money manager or financial advisor to be sure the methods we're using here are suitable for you, because we don't know your risk tolerance and your personal situation, and they do. So it's always a good idea to talk with somebody that's familiar with your particular situation. All right, and definitely come over and see us at TradersCoach.com. You know, we got a website over there with a lot of videos and cool stuff. We also have a lot of books available. My newest book is the book on the far right called Money Management for Traders. And that is really a great book because basically it's a condensed or clip note version, okay, of a trader's money management system. So if you can go back far enough to when you were in school, you know, remember the Cliff Notes? In fact, Cliff Notes is what probably got me through college most of the time. But Cliff Notes basically summarizes some of the more in-depth topics that you have to study. So a trader's money management system, which is the book on the left, the white book here, that's a very in-depth and an excellent book on risk control and money management. This book here can get you up and running in no time because it's a very condensed version, taking the important topics out of the book on the more comprehensive book out and put that into a more quick format for you. So food for thought, okay? And you can check those out at Amazon, available in Kindle, and I think we even have it now in an audio book. Pretty fancy, huh?
Yes,
all right.
We do.
That's what I thought. All right, so that's out in an audio book. Boy, we're just getting really up to stuff with all the technology. All right, so what I want to cover today is to make sure you know how to create templates on your charting platform. And the purpose of templates really is, let me just ask a question. Who does not know what a template is? Does everybody know what a template is? Daniel, we're going to cover that, okay? So templates, if you're using TradeStation, they're called groups. And basically what it does is it's an easy way to automate the loading of studies on a chart or even in a scanner. For example, like in NinjaTrader's Market Analyzer or TradeStation's radar screen. So I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, and when you talk about templates, there are different types. I'm going to cover that. There's templates that control your background of your chart. There's templates that can control the text on a chart, the price bars, and the studies loaded, and all that kind of good stuff. All right, and the idea behind a template is, yeah, it takes a little time to set up, but once you got it set up, then you don't have to do it again. You know, it's automated from there on out. And you can create your favorite template. Let's say you like R studies, but you also like to look at maybe something like volume or a moving average. So you want to add that to the chart every time you load a chart. Well, that's a custom template as well, and you can add those, and I'll show you how to do that. So the bottom line with templates is once you get it set up, it really simplifies your life. So we're going to take a look now at actual charting platforms, and it looks like it'll be a combination between, I think, NinjaTrader and TradeStation. Michael, you're actually using NinjaTrader, not Thinkorswim. You're just using data from Thinkorswim, which is TD Ameritrade, and you're importing that into NinjaTrader. So technically, your platform for our purposes today is going to be NinjaTrader. All right, so I want to thank everybody for attending, and let's go ahead and get out of this mode here. And I think what I'm going to do is start with Ninja first. So I think I'm going to minimize TradeStation, and here's NinjaTrader. Now, what I'm going to do is go chart by chart. So let's just open up this bad boy up here, okay? And it doesn't matter what the symbol is. It doesn't matter if it's a weekly chart. Doesn't matter if it's an intraday chart, because basically what I'm going to show you is how you would create a template, regardless of the time frame, that you could load on any chart thereafter. All right, so what I'm going to do here, okay, is open up the indicator area. Now, are you familiar, for the most part, everybody out there, how NinjaTrader works? The basics. One of the things I want to show you that is if you need help with Ninja, you know, NinjaTrader or whatever platform you're using, they have their own tutorial area. Did you know that? You can go, for example, to TradeStation support area inside the platform, and they're going to have that for you. Same thing with NinjaTrader. So I'm going to show you NinjaTrader, and then I'm going to show you TradeStation really quick. All right, so let's take a look here. All right, so here is all the art studies loaded here. Now, a template basically automatically, once you have it set up, loads everything here. And usually when our software engineer, Mark, installs software for you, this is the kind of thing he does, is he creates templates that automatically load software studies for you onto your chart. And so I want for just a minute for you to look at this window here and notice there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 software studies that I load. That's a lot, right? Let's just see if we unload those. Give me a second. If we unload those and then recreate them, so we're going to remove everything here. We'll keep the symbol. All right, so there's a chart. So when you open up a new chart in NinjaTrader or TradeStation, you're just going to see basically price bars. So normally what you have to do in the beginning is go in and you have to load the indicators that you want to see. And they usually have a list that you can choose from. So in NinjaTrader, they're up here. Okay, here's the art studies. And so the idea is you want to bring them from here down to here. Now, if you have to do that for 10 studies, you certainly don't want to do that every time, do you? That's a lot of work. So instead, you want to load them once. just like this, and load all the studies that you may want to have. I think I'll load the OWL next, then the PTF, and then I'll come and load the TLM. And the TLM is actually 2 studies. And then finally, I think I'll put the ERI on there. Now, you may not own all these, so you're going to only want to load the ones you purchased. So then I'm going to click OK. All right, and there's the software studies loaded. All right, and then if we switch time frames from, let's go to a weekly and then go back to a daily, that tends to reset it. Okay, so there they are. So that's basically how the chart looked when I first got on. Now let's create a template. So if I like what I have loaded, you right click on the chart, go to templates, and then click Save As. And again, this is what Mark does to you. So now I've created one already, obviously. It's called the Art Owl PTF TLM and ERI. And so when I save that, it automatically creates a one-click option to load this on any chart. So let's remove these again, and let me show you. Okay, so now watch what happens. I go to the template, I go to load, I pick out the one I want, and watch. Boom. Okay, there it is. All right, so I didn't have to load them one by one. It just loads them all automatically. That's the benefit of the template. But now there's one step further. Now, let's say I'm really happy with this. Every time I open up a new chart, this is the only thing I want to see. Well, then you come back down here to templates, and then you save that as the default, which means anytime you open up a new chart, it's going to open up into that particular template. So let's try that. So let's say I want to open up a chart, brand new chart, and we'll just go to the same one I got. And now it'll open up with that template. And that's because it was saved in the default configuration. Okay. Now let's go to TradeStation. TradeStation, same type of thing, but they call templates something different in TradeStation. Let me just bring this one up here. Okay, so in TradeStation, you have to go into studies, and templates are called groups. So whenever we talk about a group in TradeStation, that's exactly the same as saying templates. Now, same type of thing here. I'm going to go to studies and let's go ahead and remove these studies. So let me go to edit. All right, and I'm just going to remove all these. All right, so there you are. There's, you got a bunch of price bars, nothing on there. All right, now, if I want to add studies, I go to studies, add studies. And that brings up the study window. And what we want to do here, all right, is click on the studies that we want to add. So I'll just do them one by one. There are the pyramids. And notice how time consuming this is. Here are the reversals. And here are the color bars. All right, now, notice how large the balls are, okay? So let's go ahead and adjust those. So go to studies and edit studies. Click on reversals because the balls are associated with the art reversals. Go to customize, go to style, and let's knock them down a size. There they are, smaller, okay? All right, so that now we've just loaded the art software, but now let's load the others. All right, So now we can load the owl, just like we did before with the others. But again, you don't want to be doing this on every time you open up a chart, right? Don't we have better things to do, right? So again, this is where templates called groups and TradeStation comes to save the day. All right, anyway, I think you get the idea, right? So once you get all these loaded, go back to studies and say save study group. And this is where you name it up here. And for example, if I called this one just art, what do I got? Art Owl PTF and TLM loaded. I don't have the ERI. So let's just say it's that. Now, if I click OK, it's going to create the template. However, in TradeStation, if I want it to automatically load on any new chart, I have to click here. Okay? So that's what you want to do. So if I remove these, let's go to Edit Studies and remove. And then I want to add the template. Let's say I just created a template for everything because I already have it in there. So in this case here, all right, it's going to be add a study group. Here it is right here, Art, Owl, PTF, TLM, and ERI. I want it to replace any existing strategies. This is a nice feature in TradeStation because let's say you have a couple of indicators on the chart already that you want to keep on there, but you want to add the Art, Owl, PTF, TLM, and ERI without replacing those. They give you this option because if you uncheck that, then it will just add the template without removing whatever you have loaded on the chart. So that's kind of a helpful thing. They don't have that on NinjaTrader to my knowledge. Okay, so then click here. And now it's going to load all the studies. Okay, and that's kind of how it's done on TradeStation. All right, so now the next thing I want to go over, first before I go on, let me just see if I have any questions. I'll get to that in a second, Chris. Chris is asking about the turbo scanner, and that's going to be my next stuff. Okay. All right, let's see what we got here. Okay, so now let's go back to NinjaTrader for a momento. And now I want to focus on the scanner. So basically, this is the scanner up here. And the scanner has its own way of setting templates. And what you do on the scanner, and I'll get to TradeStation in a minute. So this is NinjaTrader 8, is when you go ahead and create what they call columns at the top, the studies are called columns. So they're not called indicators on the scanner, they're called columns because the studies create columns. All right, so you got to kind of get the terminology down. All right, so go to columns and you'll see the normal NinjaTrader way of loading indicators, but they're called columns in here. And so here's what I've got loaded down here. I've got the trade confirmer that we have designed that includes the OWL PTF. I got the Elliott Wave, Turbo Scanner, and then I have our new scanner called the Multiple Time Frame Analysis Scanner, short, intermediate, and long. So that is all of them loaded. Now, normally I'd have to bring them down like I showed you before, one by one by one. Takes forever. Instead, what I like to do on this is, again, create a specific template. And in order to access this area in the scanner, you cannot click on a chart. You have to open the scanner and right click in the scanner and go to columns. Okay, so you want to make sure you create the template for the scanner and not for the chart again. So in order to do that, you have to open up the market analyzer and just put your mouse anywhere on it and then right click. And so that's how you do that. Okay, so now the next thing to do is they have templates very similar. You save, you get it set up like you want, and then you go to templates and you save as. You can label it anything you want. All right, if you have or own all our scanners, you can just basically say, create a new template that says everything. So let's do that right now. Let's create one of those that says everything. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to call this all TC scans. And notice this little box here where it says save instruments. This is kind of an interesting thing. Now, if I uncheck that and leave it checked, which I usually do for most of my general defaults, it means when I load a scanner or load this template, there's not going to be any symbols up here. And that's okay because I can load those myself. However, if you want to get really fancy, let's say I wanted to say load all scans for futures. And I'm going to take it one step further, day trading. But nope, let me do this. Let me just say, I think this is a 1 minute scan. So this scanner is using a 1 minute time frame to perform its function. And since I am going to specifically have it for futures, I'm going to save the instruments. Now, I'm looking at these, I'm saying, okay, these are futures, but these are the micro contracts. So let's call this micro. All right, now I'm going to save this. So I've just created a template that you can see up here. So if I ever accidentally wipe this out, I can go back here and load it and even load all the symbols, which is kind of cool. So kind of a neat way to organize. So if you trade different, if you're a position trader or a day trader, you can actually segregate your scan templates into different time frames as well. And you can or not, or you don't have to include that. And if you basically want to save this particular scan as your default, then you go down here and you can also save it as your default, which means it will come up every time you open up the scanner or the market analyzer. Now with TradeStation, let's open up Radar Screen. This is Radar Screen, okay? So it's funny, all the charting platforms have a fancy name for their scanners. You have NinjaTrader, they call theirs the Market Analyzer, while TradeStation calls theirs Radar Screen. Now, TradeStation also has, let me see if I can go into the apps area. TradeStation also has, and you gotta be careful here, I think something called just the scanner, if I were, unless they've changed. Okay, see where it says scanner? Do not load that. This is not as powerful as a scanner as Radar Screen. So we built all our software to work on Radar Screen. That's the real-time scanner. So that is kind of important. But now, same type of thing. You can right-click. This, it's a little trickier here. So you want to make sure you kind of do this right. So take this and studies, add a study group, edit studies. Edit study groups. So what you want to do in the beginning is you're going to have to add the different studies one by one until you get the ones that you want. So in TradeStation, it's from left to right. So you do that and you add that. And then if you have to customize it in any way, you come down here and do that. So if you look here, these are the ones that I have loaded. By the way, I always load the description too, because I like to see, you know, what the stock's full name is, and, you know, same thing they do in NinjaTrader too. So you can add our studies with this other description, and you see it loads it right here. and it just kind of gives you the list of the name of the stocks. And then, you know, you load the Elliott Wave scanner according to the instructions. And then once you have everything set there, all right, then, and you've got it all set up, colors are all right, you click OK. And then the next thing you can come down here and do is actually go to studies, and you can create a study group, okay? Add a study group, all right? And then you can basically add that as well. And from there, you know, here's my study group I already created of all these, but that's how you can do it. So I guess let me go to save study group first. So save a study group. All right, so here's all the ones I have listed. And then you know, basically name it whatever you want. I call them all TC scans. And then here's your little check mark to automatically default it so it loads every time and you're good to go. All right, so that's going to simplify the process a great deal in both the scanner and the charts. Now, there's other little things too that you need to know. Usually when you create a template and save a template, it usually, and the charting platforms differ a little bit, but usually if you have a white colored background in your chart, a lot of times it will save the white color background as well. So if you want to call, if you like using alternate backgrounds, you may want to label the template that you saved, if it's on a white chart, as having a white background. So you can say ArtOwl PTF TLM white background, okay, or black background, however you want to do it. But that's kind of an interesting way. And in order to change those, you know, you go to settings, and there's a whole different, in TradeStation, they give you a whole different thing, different ways to do it. You know, here's your colors, background, and NinjaTrader's no different. They give you all those options. And I would suggest, again, let's go to help here. You know, you can get training, support. Here's your platform trading. So you can go here in TradeStation and get help with the basic, you know, ways in which to use the platform. And NinjaTrader also has that same thing. If you go to help here, there are help guides, video guides, and so forth. So a lot of times, you know, when you're new at using a platform, you might get stuck in something that's kind of basic, but because it's so new, you really haven't seen it before. So go to those help guides or even a video, and chances are you'll be able to find it. Now, one of the things I usually do too, if I can't find something, what I usually do is I'll Google it. If you Google your issue or what you're looking for, you usually can find it. So let's just say, you know, you want to change the background, but you couldn't figure out how to do it. You could say NinjaTrader change background color and Google that, and you'll find out a specific video right on that. Chances are it's in YouTube or something. Okay. All right. So let me just see if there's any questions here coming up. All right. So Chris is asking, can the Turbo Scanner be added as part of a TradeStation study group? It can, but not on the charts, because the Turbo Scanner is a scanner. So you'd have to add that to the group that you would create in the scanner. So let's go here, back here to radar screen, go under studies and edit all studies. All right, so here's the Turbo Scanner here, and it's added to this group. Does that make sense? So whatever you add in currently can be saved in the group. But for example, you can't go down to a chart, okay, and go to studies and add, the Turbo Scanner is not going to work on the charts. Okay, see it's listed here, but you can't load it because it's a scanner. So good question, but you can't load it there. That's the only thing. So notice that how just by putting my mouse, whether it was on radar screen here, As soon as I put my mouse here and go to studies, now I'm focusing on the studies for radar screen. When I put it on my mouse on the chart and right click and go to studies, now I'm talking about the studies on my chart. So simply by positioning your mouse over the correct window, that's how you access the studies for that window and create templates for that window. Same thing with NinjaTrader. If I have my mouse here and right click, now I'm working on studies in the chart. If I go up here and right click, notice it doesn't say indicators, it says columns, because that's what they call the indicators in the scanner called Market Analyzer in NinjaTrader. All right, any other questions? Because that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. I don't want to get too complicated because then it tends to get a little too involved, but that gives you, I think, enough information for you to understand templates, how to create them, the value behind them, and if you're not using them, definitely use them because it's going to simplify things quite a bit. All right, Chris, good. If you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully I spent enough time on TradeStation to answer your questions. You let me know if I didn't, okay? The other thing too about TradeStation, just so you know, and NinjaTrader too, there's settings specific to a chart, and then there's settings what we call global settings. And usually the global settings you access up here. Hopefully you can see my blue ink up here. Here's where they are. For example, if you go under File, you'll see Preferences. All right, and then over here you'll see Desktop, Order Entry. So if you click on that, here are preferences that basically will affect all the windows. These are called global settings. And then when you go here and go Settings and go Window, this is just affecting this window that I'm on. Okay, so keep that in mind. So if you make a change here, you might not see it anywhere else. Now, there is a caveat to that though, of course, isn't there always? All right, if I go here and I change a setting here and here, some windows, not this one, oh, this here it is, yes it does, they have a default. If you set that as a default, then the next time you use that, no matter what charting window, it will come up. So if I set my background to white and I set it as a default, it will work the next time I bring up a new chart. It will have a white background, but it will only change the current chart you're looking at for now. Okay, so global settings and specific settings, and that's the same for NinjaTrader. They have the same type of thing. So in NinjaTrader, everything's controlled through the control panel. So you need to go up here and then you'll see, you'll have here different preference areas here. You'll have tools, options. These are global settings. However, these here, when I click on the chart and go to properties, these are specific to that chart. And if I save it as a default, then it will apply in the future to all charts. Now, interesting thing, you see where it says preset down here? All right, notice that in TradeStation, you had a nice little box that said default. In NinjaTrader, you got to come down here and go preset, and any changes you make here, you have to save. Let me just make sure you see that. See where it says save? That's how you make it a default. So you make the change wherever you want here, and then you have to come down, click on preset, and it opens this up to save or restore, and that's where you want to hit save. And then that saves it as a default. Okay, Daniel, how are you? Okay, so this is a good question. NT as an upgrade, do we have to do anything special to save charts and templates? Great question. All right, let me just first, currently right now we're on, I think the update for Ninja is 26. Normally, you don't have to do anything except do the update. All the templates get saved. Everything should be exactly in place just like before. Same thing with TradeStation. Now, I will say a couple little tidbits here. A lot of people, when they upgrade from 9.5, TradeStation 9.5 or 10 or something like that, they tend to do a backup and a restore. And a lot of times when you do the restore and you're going from a older version to a big new version, they're a little corrupted in terms of when they back them up and restore them, because some things may be a little different on the new platform. So if things don't work quite right on the new platform, it's better to start anew, okay? I will say with the ART software, if you try to jump from an old to a new, or you get a new computer and you kind of just hit the restore button and reload all the ART studies and everything, you still have to run our installer, because we install something called an art.dll, which controls all the functions of the software studies. And that gets loaded into your Windows folder. So that's why you have to run that installer to reinstall that, or else the software won't work, okay? So just know that our software won't work, okay? So that's just something for a different day. All right, so anything else? Great questions. Daniel, that answer your question okay? All right. Okay, I think I got them all. I want to thank everybody for coming today. Good turnout, great questions, love it. And we'll post this in our recording area for Wednesday Night Live. And thanks for coming. And Jean, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Well, terrific. Well, I think that was really helpful. And I think also too, I found it interesting, the global versus the individual chart settings. That is kind of tricky, isn't it? So good thing you pointed that out. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and a shout out to Bill Bear and Christine in San Diego, and Daniel and Joko. Yes, good to see you too. All right. Well, have a great evening, and we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday and every Wednesday for Wednesday Night Live.